Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, we save time to take live questions. However, a lot of the times we don't have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in, but I want to make sure those questions get answered in a video, so I gather up those unused questions we didn't have time for, and we address them here on companion videos. And today is Thursday, April the 11th, so these are the questions we didn't get around to on this morning's John Campea Show. So with all that down and out of the way, let's start getting caught up. And we're going to start getting caught up with Ike Moore, who writes, over under 40% that Deadpool 3 comes before rebooted Fantastic Four X-Men. Oh, way over 40%. Way over 40%. I'd say it's like an 80%. Maybe 90%, because Disney already has plans for doing a Deadpool film. Plus, Deadpool is not something... Deadpool's going to be outside of the MCU, and is going to be done under the Fox banner, not under Marvel. So they don't have to do anything. I mean, they don't have to lay any groundwork. They don't have to change any plans. With Fantastic Four and X-Men, Kevin Feige the other day said, that's years away. I fully expect that we're going to see a Deadpool 3 before we see an X-Men movie. Patrick Conway writes, Hawkeye series is coming with Jeremy Renner, so Ruffalo will soon be the only OG Avenger not to headline a solo movie or series. Well, yes and no. You're playing with technicalities because there already was an Incredible Hulk movie. The one with Edward Norton. The other one wasn't in the MCU. The one with Edward Norton, that's in the MCU. So yes, it's a different actor playing the role now, but it's still the character. That character had their own headline series. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that Hawkeye series, Patrick. I really am. Shivang Penchal writes, new Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order. Excited? Well, no. I mean, I'm not excited just knowing there's a game. There's been a lot of crappy Star Wars games. I'll be excited when I see a whole bunch about it, and once I see a whole bunch from it, and I know they're probably going to release a lot at Star Wars Celebration, so once I see some stuff, maybe then I'll get excited, but I've been burned by too many Star Wars games, I'm sure a lot of us have, to just get excited just because a game's coming. Let's see if the game's any good, and then we'll get excited. Jeff Mullins writes, BS on Feige, not change course. Remember Spider-Man? Yeah, Jeff, I've explained this about 100 times, dude, but here we'll do it again. There is such a massive difference between the Spider-Man situation because unlike this Fox situation where there were government issues involved, where because it was a corporate merger, you could not do anything. Kevin Feige wasn't even legally allowed to do any planning or consultation or anything that has anything to do with any of the Fox properties until the deal was closed. Well, now the deal's closed, and now Kevin Feige can start talking to people about it. Now Kevin Feige can sit down and start having meetings about it. He wasn't legally allowed to do that before. Now he can. Now they can get started. The Spider-Man situation was a monumentally different situation. That wasn't a corporate merger. There were no laws they had to follow. They made a deal with Sony. They knew about the deal a full year and a half before we knew about it. Like by the time they introduced and announced the Sony Marvel deal to let Spider-Man be in the MCU, they were in talks of that for well over a year before that ever happened. Kevin Feige knew about it a year before that happened, and it wasn't until a long time after that it was announced that we even saw Spider-Man show up, right? So there was years, there was literally years that Kevin Feige had in place to put his plans together for how he wanted to bring in Spider-Man. Years. X-Men and Fantastic Four, not so much. He's literally had the ability to even start planning on that for weeks. That's why Kevin Feige just came out and said, hey, it's a long ways off, because they were literally just able to start talking about it. The Spider-Man thing, he was able to plan it, think about it, strategize about it for years before we saw Spider-Man pop up in Civil War. So don't try to compare the two situations. They're not similar in the least. One had years of planning. One does not. You know, could Kevin Feige within 2 years have an X-Men character pop into an MCU movie? Absolutely. If he had a couple of years to plan it and execute that and just have, I don't know, Beast or Cyclops or a Storm show up in another X-Men's or in another Avengers or another MCU character's movie, yeah, you could do that. Because he did that with Spider-Man. Years of planning, and then had Spider-Man do a small appearance in Captain America Civil War. He could do that with X-Men too. But, this whole thing about how just throw your plan out the window, go into production on an X-Men movie right now, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that thing's all out the window. So, no, I'm completely right on this. I am completely right on this. And the two are very, very different situations. So just get it out of your head that there's anything similar about those situations, because there's not. And that, I believe, is the fourth time I've explained that, but whatever. Hey, the important thing here is that we can look forward to great movies coming out over these things. I still kind of wish X-Men were in their own separate universe, but whatever. Kevin Feige is Kevin Feige. He's going to do a great job with it. Now that he can start planning for it, we're going to get something good. And now that we know he's going to take his time with it, we know we're going to get something good. So we've got a lot of good stuff to look forward to, Jeff. David Sickles writes, my Columbus Blue Jackets came back last night to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Did you see? No, I did not see it, but I read all about it. And good on the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm happy for you. Troy Strauss writes, John/Rob, Shazam last week, Hellboy tonight, Game of Thrones Sunday, and Endgame 3 times in 2 weeks. What a great time to be alive. Yeah, and I'm going to go see Hellboy myself tonight. I'm leaving in about an hour and a half to go watch Hellboy. The reviews have not been kind, my friend. So I don't know what we're in for, but the reviews have not been kind, but everything else looks golden, dude. So yes, it is a great time to be alive, Troy. All right. My boo writes, John, what if? Very funny. Scott Vosper writes, will Obi-Wan Kenobi ever return? Well, I mean, if you mean in terms of will I do like Star Wars content again? Hey, look, I've said this before. I'll say it again. If I can ever find a proper co-host who has incredible on-camera communication talent and incredible Star Wars knowledge and passion that I have not worked with before, then I'm totally open to starting a new Star Wars show. Once I find that person, I will do it. I won't do it before then. So it's looking bleak, though. There's not a lot of people out there who fit that bill really well. Like I know a lot of people who are good on-camera communicators, but don't necessarily know a lot about Star Wars. I know a lot of really diehard Star Wars fans, but aren't necessarily good on-camera effective communicators. And you need both to do a show like that. So once I can find somebody, I'll do it, but it could take me another year. It could take me 3 more years. I don't know, but we'll see. Ranrick writes, going to my first Star Wars celebration Saturday and Monday. Any tips? Been to many cons in Chicago, but feel this one is going to be different. I've been to a couple of Star Wars celebrations. It's like Comic-Con in many different ways. My biggest tip is have a backpack. Have a backpack that's got snacks in it. Have a backpack. Most importantly, it's got a big bottle of water or 2. So you always, and the backpack also to have room for any little stuff that you pick up along the way. Because there's a lot of free stuff at these sorts of things too that you can pick up, and you want to make sure you've got everything you need. And most important, keep a clean shirt in it. Because things happen, you're with thousands of other people, messes happen, or sometimes you just become a sweaty mess. Do yourself and everybody a favor, jump into the bathroom quick, change out, and put on a clean shirt. Keep deodorant in it, water, snacks, room for extra stuff, and a clean shirt. That's my best tip for that. Renner, and I hope you have an amazing time, dude. All right. Scott Vosper writes, P.S. Naming my first son Van. He's in good company. Van is such a good... It's Alan Tudyk's character's name in Powerless. He plays Bruce Wayne's little cousin, Van Wayne, which I just love. It's made me fall in love with the name, so... There you go, Scott. Good choice, my friend. Orange Hand writes, just like not everyone who hates The Last Jedi is toxic, would you say not everyone who dislikes a film making changes from book to screen is a book purist? Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, just because somebody doesn't like a change from the book to a movie doesn't necessarily mean they let me try it again. Doesn't mean they just did it because they're a book purist. Could just be, well, that wasn't a good change. And now I know a lot of people who are book purists, which is why if I know a movie's coming out, I will not read the book first, because that clouds your perception of things. Because there are a lot of book purists. But just because you don't like a change from the book to movie does not mean one's a book purist. Not at all. My boo writes, 50% over under, Rocket sees a raccoon on Earth. I'm going to take the under on that. I think it's possible, but it's so on the nose It's such an obvious gag and so on the nose that I have a feeling that the Russo brothers may lean away from it. So it's possible, but I'm going to take under 50% on that. Keenan Haynes writes, Captain Marvel, Endgame, Star Wars, Toy Story 4, Frozen, The Lion King. If all these films hit the $1 billion mark, would that be a Hollywood record? Yes. The most films to ever join the $1 billion club in 1 year is 5. And I believe it's happened twice in the last few years. But there has never been 6. Never been $6 billion films in 1 year. This year, absolutely, Keenan could break that record. We'll find out soon. My boo writes, DC reboot with new Batman or recast Batman soups? I'm not sure what it is you're asking. You're asking me, would I do that? Like, would I choose? Or what? Are you asking me what I would do? Or are you asking me what is more likely? I think what is obviously more likely is that they're just going to recast Bats and Soups. We don't know yet, but we're getting closer to when, if we ever see Matt Reeves as Batman. He's only been on the project for 3 years now. So if that ever comes around, maybe we'll finally figure it out. Or a couple of years at any rate. SWGJR87 Stuff and Things writes, I dig what you do, John. Thanks for bringing Rob on also. You guys are a good team and thoroughly enjoy it. Keep it up. And remember, go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Well, thank you so much for that Stuff and Things. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I love having Rob on the show. And I love when I get to have Greg Alba on the show, and I love having Ashley on the show. And it's always fun when I can have really cool people that I respect and that I like and that I can, have exchanges with over this stuff. It's really good. And awesome when you have an audience who will just write in nice things to say like you just did. So thank you very much for that. All right. Paul M. writes, if Deadpool was an Endgame, he would have suggested the Ant-Man Thanos theory. Yeah, probably. Will there be a reference to it in Deadpool 3? Probably not. If it hadn't become a thing and people hadn't been talking about it all this time, maybe. But now that it's become such a thing, I don't think they'll just rehash it because now it's an old joke. So I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess he wouldn't. Paul M. writes, commercials before a movie or behind the scenes. I have no idea what you're asking, Paul. Are you asking which is better? Are you asking which is worse? Are you asking which I would do? Are you asking what is more likely? Sorry, Paul. I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking. Sorry about that, friend. K Major writes, hey, Gio, so we got the last season of Arrow coming. I, like you, was there at the beginning and watched all of your after viewing videos you did. Oh, thanks so much, K Major. They were awesome. Any thoughts on doing something similar for the series finale? Nah. Somebody else asked me that, actually, K Major. The thing is, I just don't like the show enough to do it. And here's the thing about after shows and recap shows. People who watch recap shows are only watching to hear the show say that this show is the best show ever. Like, I remember when I was into doing the Arrow after show. I used to love doing it. I was the biggest evangelist for the show in the world. But the moment I started getting critical about it, the audience turns on you. Because people who watch after shows, they're watching because they love that show. And so they want to hear you say how awesome the show is and say nothing but how awesome the show is. And the moment I started going, I didn't like the way they did this and this and this, people started getting pissed off. And ultimately, really, there's no point in me doing a recap video or an after show for Arrow because I just don't like it enough. Now, the show's gotten better lately, but it's still not something that I love. You know what I mean? So, do I want to dedicate my time and energy to a show I'm not even all that crazy about? Probably not. So, no, I probably won't be doing that, but I will be keeping an eye on it, and I'll be watching it with great interest. It is the final season, but I just don't see there being any point in me doing an after show for it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Thanks for that, K Major. All right. James Ito writes, how do I convert 300 DVDs digital on a smart TV? Best thing to do, James, Google. There's tons of software that will help you do that. Just Google something. You'll have find much better answers than me trying to answer that for you, but there are many, many ways to do it. Terrell Wise writes, did you see the new Endgame TV spot drop this morning? Actually, we talked about it on the John Campea Show this morning. The Avengers Endgame mission. Yeah, that was great. Talking about splitting up into different teams with different missions. And then, of course, it's Captain America giving the big speech. And then Rocket Raccoon going, he's pretty good at this. And Ant-Man going, yeah, right? I mean, it's great. I love that spot. Mostly footage that we've already seen. But still, I thought the spot was great. I enjoyed it a great deal. Ross Hitchcock writes, Terminator trailer. Again, I don't know what you're asking. Are you asking me if I saw it? Are you asking me why I didn't review it? Are you asking me what I thought about it? Are you asking me... I mean, just, I didn't see it. The one panel I missed because I was under the weather, the one panel I missed at CinemaCon was Paramount's panel, and that's where they showed the Terminator stuff. So, unfortunately, I haven't seen it. Kev DeBuck9 writes, isn't this a terrible time to be releasing the Star Wars trailer? Won't it be overshadowed by Game of Thrones and Endgame? They should play it for celebration attendees, but not release it to the public till after May. No. No. This is Star Wars. Maybe there would be some other franchise that this would be a bad time to release it. And all, sure, but this is Star Wars. The Star Wars trailer will be the news headline of the day. That's all it is to it. Nothing else will be the bigger news story that day on the day that a Star Wars trailer drops. Just not. I mean, yes, we're in the midst of the countdown to Endgame. Yes, we're in the final countdown, the final couple of days for Game of Thrones and all that kind of stuff. And there are trailers you could drop right now that would just get lost in that. Lost in the anticipation for Game of Thrones, lost in the anticipation, this huge anticipation for Endgame. But this is Star Wars. You drop a Star Wars trailer, that's the lead story of the day. That will take precedence over everything else. So, and remember, it's not like Game of Thrones is debuting that day, and it's not like Avengers is also putting out a brand new trailer that same day. So yes, a lot of other trailers would just get lost in the anticipation of Game of Thrones Endgame, absolutely, but this is Star Wars, let's not kid ourselves. This is the most enduring film franchise in cinematic history. This is the main event. This is Star Wars. Just like if we were like 2 weeks out from the Star Wars movie coming out, you could drop an Avengers 5 trailer. You could drop an Avengers 5 trailer 2 weeks out from Star Wars because it's Avengers and it's the new Avengers. And it's not like you're putting it up against a brand new Star Wars trailer or whatever. So no, they're perfectly good dropping a Star Wars trailer tomorrow. It will be the story of the day. It will be the story of the day. And then we'll get back to our countdown for Endgame and Game of Thrones a day or two later. That's fine. But yeah, the day you drop a Star Wars trailer, you're the headline. You are absolutely the headline, the showstopper, the main event. That's what's going to be happening there. Jiri Manian writes, John, best moments in episodes 7 and 8. Well, 8's easy for me. It's the confrontation between Luke and Rey. When, like, basically Luke schools her when they're combating with sticks and stuff like that, and then she kind of cheated by pulling out a lightsaber. But that was my favorite moment. I just love that moment in that movie. Also, well, of course, when Luke confronts Kylo is also pretty damn spectacular. For 7, it's the whole when the First Order shows up and they're at Maz Kanata's castle. I love that whole sequence. That whole giant sequence I think is great, so I love that. A lot of great moments in those films, so those are two. If I thought about it, I might come up with some other ones, but just off the top of my head, those are the ones that come off the top of my head. Movie Games writes, Hellboy, 9% on Rotten Tomatoes now. Yeah, last I checked, on Rotten Tomatoes, it was 10%. Right now, it is 12%. Woo! It's surging, everybody. Yeah, Hellboy is now at a big old 12%. So it's gone up a little bit. I don't expect it might go up by 1 or 2 points more. I don't expect to see it hit 18 or 19 or anything like that, though. James Christie writes, "Yeah, I went a little overboard on Endgame opening weekend tickets. I think a lot of people did, James. Don't feel bad about it. How does this sound? Thursday, 10 p.m., Friday, 9 a.m., 3D, Saturday, 10 p.m., XD, Sunday, noon, Alamo Drafthouse, dinner and a movie, all formats covered." That sounds like you better hope the movie doesn't suck. That's what I've been saying to everybody who, like me, is going to see it like 3 or 4 times in a span of a couple of days. Let's hope the movie doesn't suck, because it would be awful. I mean, just awful. If we walk in to watch Avengers Endgame and walk out really disappointed in it, and we hate it, knowing that we've still already dropped like 40 or 50 bucks on more tickets to see it again, that would be a terrible feeling. I don't believe it's going to suck for a minute, but hey, even Spielberg had a bad day at the office. Every filmmakers have bad days at the office. This one could be theirs. We'll have to kind of see how this all turns out. But that sounds like a good plan, James. It sounds like a good plan, my friend. All right. John McKendry writes, "Will JJ backtrack on Rey's parents' identities being nobodies, like Empire backtrack on Darth Vader killing Luke's father?" No, because that was JJ's plan all along. Who plays Rey again? Why am I freezing on the actress's name who plays Rey? I don't know why. It's Daisy Ridley. Daisy Ridley confirmed a long time ago that right from the beginning, that's what she was told by J.J. Abrams, that her parents are nobody. I said, after watching Star Wars The Force Awakens, I did tons of shows saying, guys, her parents aren't going to be anybody significant. Her parents are not going to be anybody significant. And that was the right thing to do. This whole constant shrinking of the Star Wars universe where everybody has to be somebody's daughter, it's just, to me, frustratingly small-minded. That would be frustratingly small-minded on the part of the filmmakers if they did that. That everybody's got to be the daughter of a prince or princess or of an old Jedi or blah. Oh, she's related to so-and-so. Like, they just keep shrinking the Star Wars universe, and it's infuriating to me. They said from the beginning, I said from the beginning, JJ said from the beginning, so I don't know why JJ would retcon his own thing. It was the right decision. It was the right move. At least from my point of view, it was absolutely the right call. So, no, they're not going to backtrack the Rey's parents things, because that is JJ's thing. Daisy Ridley said for the longest time that that's exactly what she was told from her first day on set of Star Wars The Force Awakens. So there's no backtracking it, and they shouldn't backtrack it. That was the right thing for them to do, in my opinion. Okay. Captain Exclusive writes, "Percentage chance that we will meet Beta Ray Bill in Endgame." 1%, 2%. I'll go as high as 3%. So almost nil, but I'll say 3%. 3% chance we meet Beta Ray Bill. So almost 0 chance. Pedro Bresane writes, "Hey, John, what's your favorite fantasy character?" I'd have to think about that, but off the top of my head, probably Boromir from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. And you're like, Boromir, the guy who tried to knock out Frodo and take the ring from him? Yeah, I love Boromir. He's a leader. He's powerful. He's all that kind of stuff, and he's flawed. And he fell under darkness. But in the end, the redemption of Boromir is one of my favorite things ever to happen in literature. When he comes to his senses, he realizes his mistake, and he fights to the death and dies to defend the hobbits. It's one of the greatest little sub-stories, I think, in any fantasy story ever. So, as played by Sean Bean in the movie, I'm going to go Boromir. Boromir is my favorite fantasy character. Okay, Jason Dolan writes, "Over under 60%, The Lion King makes more money than Endgame worldwide." Oh, way under 60%. I think there's a chance that Lion King makes more money than Endgame. I think there's a chance, but it's the minority. I would set it more like 20, 25% chance, certainly not 60%, so I will take way under on the 60%. Luke Blackwell writes, "Will we get a Venom versus movie?" Anything's possible. Like, we know they've got plans. Sony has plans for Kraven the Hunter. I'd be down for Venom versus Kraven, where Kraven is hunting Venom. That would be cool. I'd be down for that. So, Will we? I don't know. It's certainly possible. That's one I'd like to see, so it's certainly possible. Dan M. writes, Hey, John. Sorry about the Shazam spoiler earlier. Don't worry about it. I thought it would be okay to discuss it, but it wasn't. Anyway, my question is, if you're hired to decide the title of Star Wars Episode 9, how would you approach it? Well, I kind of have the same philosophy about titles for movies as I do about posters for movies. I like posters to, in one frame, capture the essence and the spirit of what the movie is. Those are the posters that really get my attention, not these posters with 45 characters' faces on it. That doesn't do anything for me. I like posters that in one shot, in one image, captures the essence and the spirit of what that movie is. I kind of like the same thing in my titles. So knowing that, how would I approach it? Well, I would need to see and read the movie. I would need to read the script and see the movie, kind of get an idea for the full spirit and essence of the movie, and then come up with the title from there. So that's how I would approach it personally. Let's see here. The Chum Bucket writes, what didn't you like about Zathura? Is that there was nothing to like. I really enjoyed that movie as a kid. Subjectivity rules. Yeah, I know a number of people. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean you shouldn't like it. I know a number of people that like that movie, and that's awesome. That's the great thing about movies. They're all subjective. But it's not so much what stands out to me about Zathura that made it not likable. It's that I found a complete lack of anything to like. I really didn't find anything that enjoyable about it. So it's not a matter of it's A, B, C, and D as to why I didn't like it. It was the absence of anything to make me like it. And that was kind of my approach to it. But again, that doesn't mean you shouldn't like it and that you shouldn't love it. If you do, that's great. Alex Alexander writes, who wins between CW's Green Arrow versus Netflix's Kingpin? Same answer I give every time. It depends who's writing it. If the Kingpin writers are writing it, Kingpin will win. If it's the CW writers writing it, Green Arrow will win. I mean, that's the real answer. It all depends on who's writing it. I mean, depending on the writer, Batman beats Superman. There you go. Superman, a god. Batman, a mortal man. Batman wins that fight, depending on who's writing it. If I was writing it, I don't know. If I were writing it, maybe Green Arrow would win that fight, but it'd be a hell of a fight. But that doesn't really mean anything, does it? Okay, Terrell Wise writes, watching Hellboy tonight, I hope it's good. God, I hope it's good. We're not hearing good things. We're not hearing positive things, but let's keep our fingers crossed, dude, because you're seeing it, I'm seeing it. Let's hope it's not a waste of our time. Bag Studios writes, have you ever played the Star Wars Risk board game? I have not. I've played a lot of Risk in my days. I haven't played many of the spin-off Risk games. Like I know there's a Game of Thrones Risk, and there's this Risk and that Risk, and there's a Star Wars Risk. I've never played it. I've only ever played the classic Risk, and I've played a hell of a lot of it in my lifetime. I love Risk. But honestly, I've never played the Star Wars version. Mark Blazer writes, seen Hellboy yesterday. It was so bad, oh no. I had to walk out before the third act. First time I did that, like, ever. And I like Hellboy, Del Toro's versions. Oh, Mark, I did not want to hear that. Oh, buddy, I didn't want to hear that because I'm leaving in about an hour or so to go to go watch it. I was hoping you're saying I went to go see Hellboy yesterday, and man, it was really good. The critics don't know what they're talking about. That bad, huh? All right, I'll just get my popcorn and soda and strap myself in, and hopefully I enjoy it, but it's not looking good, dude. It's not looking good. All right, Benjamin Lohman writes, what's the longest movie a movie could be and work? It all depends on the movie. There are some movies that 2 hours is too long. There are some movies where 3 hours feels like it's too short. I don't think there's any one guiding rule. I mean, obviously, a 6-hour movie is far too long for anything, yes. But how long could a movie be? It depends on the movie. I mean, I know you're looking for a specific answer, but I can't give you one. It really all depends on the movie and how long a particular movie should be. Jake Roofer writes, my birthday is April 12th. Star Wars trailer is the best gift. Here's hoping the Star Wars trailer doesn't suck and is actually impresses some people and blows us away. I hope it does. But it's a good time because, dude, your birthday's in April. You got Game of Thrones. You got Endgame. You got the Star Wars trailer coming out. Good time, my friend. I hope you have a great birthday, Jake. Happy birthday, my man. All right. Chris Hamilton writes, "Hey John, it's always nice when you sing and play guitar for us, but when do we get to see you breakdance? Oh my God, never. Never, never, never. I'm pretty sure I've destroyed all the tapes that existed of me breakdancing. There are probably still a few photos around of me in my windbreaker outfit. For those of you who don't know, I used to do a lot of breakdancing. I even did it professionally. If you count professionally as you get paid to do it. Me and my crew, we got some paid gigs. We got hired on and did some paid gigs breakdancing. But yeah, you will never see video of that. Like pretty much ever. Like the genie of the lamp would have to come out and grant, and you'd have to waste one of your wishes to see that for you to ever see it. It ain't ever going to happen. Matt Phillips Reviews writes, "The way John reacted to the new Lion King trailer is the same way I reacted when John started singing Circle of Life yesterday. Hashtag walk with Campea." Yes, everybody, who wants to walk with Campea? And yes, some people picked up on that. That was a little bit of an homage to the Walk with Elias thing that they do in the WWE. Grab my guitar and start singing like a fool, even though my voice is completely gone. But thank you for that, Matt. That's very kind of you, my friend. Let's see. Jose Menviar writes, "I know you don't watch anime, but My Hero Academia is the one that I think you might like. First 3 seasons are on Hulu. You know what? Anne watches that, and she quite likes it. And she's been trying to get me to watch it, too. I mean, how many of us are lucky enough that we can say that our wives, like how many geek boys like me can say we have our wives, and our wives are the one that tries to get us into this stuff? But yeah, Anne has been trying to get me into My Hero Academia, and I think at some point I will break down and finally start watching it. I'll check it out at some time soon, Jose, because now I've got you on it too, but Anne has been trying to get me to see it for a while. Let's see. Jose follows up with, "My Hero Academia is about superheroes, and the creator is influenced by American comics. I think a lot of your audience might like it as well." Well, I can tell you right now, Jose, a lot of my audience do watch it, because you're not actually the first person to mention it to me. I've had other members of our audience mention it to me before and bring up that they really watch it and enjoy it, and I'm going to have to crack down and finally get myself to sit down and watch it, I think. Mr. Cadmus Bain writes, "What's more divisive in Star Wars, prequels or sequels?" Well, the thing is, the prequels really weren't divisive. There are people who like the prequels, but at the time, it was the overwhelming consensus we didn't like the Star Wars prequels. So it really wasn't divisive. It was, we didn't like them. The new ones, well, I mean, The Force Awakens wasn't divisive at all. The Force Awakens was pretty much universally loved. Not everybody loved it, obviously, but most people seemed to really enjoy it. It was The Last Jedi that was divisive. To me, The Last Jedi was the first truly divisive film. Now, I fall on the side that I enjoyed The Last Jedi. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. I liked what it did. I particularly liked what they did with Luke. I thought what they did with Luke was original and bold and strong and great character development. That's just my opinion. Other people feel differently. That's fine. And then there's things I hated about it. But overall, I enjoyed The Last Jedi. But it's the first truly divisive film. You would have people disagree over The Phantom Menace or and the other prequels, but it never caused division. And like I said, it was the minority of people that liked it, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But they weren't divisive. The Last Jedi was divisive. The Last Jedi was divisive. So I would say, but I wouldn't say the sequels, because the sequels haven't been divisive. Just the one film has been. So I would say The Last Jedi. Stuart McDermott writes, "Do you think they will discuss the elephant in the room at the episode 9 panel and mention the very mixed reaction to The Last Jedi? Nah. What's the point? Honestly, what would be the purpose of that? There's no purpose. Star Wars Celebration is a place to get together to celebrate. It's in the title, to celebrate Star Wars. So they're going to go there and they're going to celebrate The Last Jedi, which they should. You know, I don't like Blade Runner, but when they have these Blade Runner events, they're there to celebrate Blade Runner, not to talk about me and the fact that I don't like it. They're there to celebrate it. So, no, they're not going to mention that at all. Just like when at Star Wars Celebration Orlando, when the prequels came up, they didn't talk about the mixed reaction to the prequels. They didn't talk about how people didn't like the prequels. They celebrate them. That's what it is. It's Star Wars Celebration. So no, I don't expect they'll address that at all. Nor is that the place. That's not the place or the time to do that. So I'm pretty sure that they won't. I'll be impressed if they do, but I don't think they will. Woody writes, would a sequel for 1985's Legend work today? The movie ended with Darkness Laughing, and I'd love to see him on the big screen again. Your thoughts? No. Shot for shot, no. I don't think that's something that would translate well today. Now, you could remake it and change some things and do it and approach it in a different way that would make it more in step with like kind of narrative trends today. But then it's really not the same thing. So if you mean, could you just readapt it? Sure, you could readapt it. Are you asking, could you just shot for shot remake it today? Would it work? Honestly, I don't think so. I think it was very much a movie made in its time, and that's not a bad thing. So adapt it, yes. Shot for shot, no, I don't think that would work today. Okay, Chris Parsons writes, I'm stumped. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, blank. I have no idea what you're asking. Are you asking me what the title of the next movie will be? Oh, who cares? I've never cared. I don't even care about the title for a movie. Like, if you can tell me the title of a movie and I'll say if I think it's good or not, but ultimately it's not important. What the title of this movie is completely unimportant. Even if they come out with a title and it's stupid, or they come out with the title and it's the greatest title in the world, it means nothing. The title will not make the movie 1 ounce better, nor will it make the movie 1 ounce worse. So normally I don't really care about the titles. But yeah, I have no real clue. I've heard whispers just like everybody else, but what the actual answer is, I don't know, but we'll probably know by the end of tomorrow. All right. DMV fan 123 writes, most people only care about round 1 of the NFL draft, which is on Thursday. People will just watch round 1 and then go see Endgame on Friday and Saturday. That's not what I read, DMV fan. Like, when I read the article on CBS, they talked about, it was balanced out. But again, look, we talked about on the John Campea Show this morning, with like the 45 million people, that's the number, 45 million people watch the NFL draft. Do I think, somebody asked me this morning, do I think that will affect Avengers Endgame opening that weekend? And I said, yes, but will it have a significant effect? No. And the analogy I gave was this. If a kid has a thimble full of water, could this kid throw that thimble of water on you and get you wet? Well, yes, but are you really wet? Yes, a little thimble of water. Oh, you hear, are you wet? Well, technically speaking, yes, you have a wet spot on your shirt. You've technically gotten water on you. Technically, you're wet. But are you significantly wet? Like the type of wet you would get if you jumped into a pool? No. Will there be an effect? Yes, of course there will be. There will be an effect. Will it be a noticeable effect? No. It'll be a thimble full of water that somebody's throwing on another person, and that's about it. I think that's the way I kind of see it anyway, DMV. All right, Ben Rayner writes, if they wanted to, could 2 of the Disney studios collaborate together, i.e. Lucasfilm and Marvel, to make a movie, or Pixar and Disney animation? Just curious to hear your thoughts. I think the bigger question would be, why would they want to and why would they need to? Like, how many... I mean, theoretically speaking, could they? Sure, I don't see why not. But why would you? Some people think having 1 studio behind a movie is too many cooks in the kitchen. Why have 2 studios involved? Now, if you're talking about collaborating as in just one kind of gives a character to the other, kind of like the way Sony and Marvel do, yeah, something like that. But I personally have no desire to ever see Lucasfilm and Marvel cross anything over, nor do I want to see... Pixar and Disney animation, they were crossed over for a long time because John Lasseter was the head of Pixar and the head of Disney animation at the same time. So it's almost like they were just one thing anyway. And even though they have, both companies have 2 separate heads now, it's very hard to distinguish which is which, to be honest with you. In the animation world, I could see it more, but everything else, yeah, I guess that the answer is, while I see no reason for them to do it, could they theoretically if they wanted to? Yeah, there's no reason why they couldn't. Let's see here. Aaron H. writes, Infinity War opened on the same day as the NFL draft last year. Yeah, I believe I mentioned that. Did I not mention that? Anyway, yeah. And I believe it had an effect. But was it a noticeable effect? Was it a significant effect? Nah. And I expect the exact same thing this year. Mario Jr. writes, part 1, years from now, what movies do you see being remade in today's age, 2000 to 2000? Oh God, Mario, I don't know. That's something I would have to sit down with and go over a list and look, anything and everything can be remade. Everything and everything can be remade. So that's really the answer. I don't know that any one has any advantage over the other. I think just about anything can be remade. As far as specifics, again, I can't do that. I'd have to sit down go over a list of the movies from 2000, 2018 and start picking some out, but I can't do that off the top of my head. But bottom line is just about everything can be remade, so they probably will. Johnny Cash H writes, Keanu Reeves for Superman, your thoughts? Dude, I don't do what do you think about X actor in X role questions, because I don't care. That's always my answer. Whenever anybody asks, John, what do you think of this actor playing this role? Unless it's a real thing where like somebody who did, like, John, what did you think of Daniel Craig playing James Bond? Oh, something that did happen? I can give you my opinion of that. But as far as, John, what would you think if this actor played this role? My answer is always the same, my friend. My answer is always, I don't care. I don't care. As long as you have a talented actor in a role, that's perfectly good for me. Otherwise, I simply don't care. Let's see. Snake Jerusalem writes, Days of Future Past had time travel, yet it was great. It did a different thing with time travel, though. It did something really weird. It did time travel in such a way that was really different and original. And it wasn't like time travel could just fix the problems. You know what I mean? But again, for every undiscovered country, for every Back to the Future, for every Days of Future Past, there's 4 or 5 that completely suck. I hate time travel in movies. Again, you can put in a movie and use it great. Fantastic. I take everything and judge it by its own merits. Much like Days of Future Past, which I love. It's just that time travel is truly the laziest writing motif there is in Hollywood. Because, again, there is no problem in any movie ever that couldn't be solved with time travel. Time travel fixes everything. If you could go back and change a mistake, that solves everything. So to me, it is the ultimate lazy man's plot device. That doesn't mean it can't be used well, and it doesn't mean you can't use it in a movie and have the movie turn out to be great. Undiscovered Country, Back to the Future, X-Men Days of Future Past. Of course, it can. I'm just saying, all other things being equal, I find using time travel as a plot device is the ultimate lazy man's plot device. Because again, no problem can't be solved without time travel. Time travel solves everything. You can solve every problem in every television show. You can solve every problem from every movie ever with time travel. That fixes it. Whatever the problems the heroes are facing, it can be fixed with time travel. And that's why, to me, it's a super lazy thing. Captain Mexico 21 writes, Terminator has time travel in it and it hasn't worked. Well, it depends on from whose perspective you're talking about. The machine sent back Terminator to fix a problem, but the humans also sent back a time traveler to fix their problem. It's just that one of them had to win and lose. And then you're right. In a number of the Terminator incarnations, it does not work. But there's that, I guess. Roman Bryant writes, which movie character do you wish you could be? Me, it's Ferris Bueller. Who wouldn't say Superman? I mean, I like, all due respect to Ferris Bueller and his day off. Love Ferris Bueller. Poor Cam. With all due respect to Ferris Bueller and his wonderful day off, who wouldn't choose Superman? If you could be any movie character, would you not choose Superman? Some people would say Batman. It's like, oh, okay, you want to be messed up, psychologically damaged, have your parents murdered as kids, have no real friends, and nobody knows who you really are? Okay, that's cool. I'll be Superman, thanks. I'll take the powers of the gods and being flight, super strength, and vulnerability, all that kind of good stuff. I'll take that. Yeah, Superman. Kevin Zaragoza writes, do you think the Ancient One will show up in Endgame? No, I do not. It would be cool if she did, but I don't expect to see her there. I hope she does. I love the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. Mista47 writes, anybody that saw Wolf of Wall Street in theaters should have no problem with Endgame because nobody complained then. Woo, revisionist history, Mista. Yes, they did. I remember, and actually Wolf of Wall Street, if I'm not mistaken, was like exactly 3 hours long. It might have been like 3 hours and 1 minute or something like that. It's really like, the joys of rewriting history. Yeah, I remember very clearly a lot of people complaining about the runtime of that movie. And by the way, I don't hear anybody complaining about the runtime of Endgame either. I don't hear anybody complaining about the runtime of Endgame. There are people who have concerns about it, sure. I'm a little concerned because it either means I don't get to do my regular movie routine of what makes me enjoy going to the movies, having a soda and popcorn. I can't do that because if I do have a soda, 2 hours later, like a big soda, if I have a soda, which is what I like to do at the movies, that's my movie ritual, I'm not going to get to do that because at 2 hours into the movie or 2 hours and 20 minutes in the movie, I'm going to have to miss some of the movie to get up and go use the bathroom. It's just the way it is. But I'm not complaining that the movie's 3 hours long. If the movie's 3 hours long, like somebody asked me, why is Endgame 3 hours long? And I said, because 3 hours and 15 minutes would have been too long and 2 hours and 45 would have been too short for this movie. You know, I've been saying for a long time, Kevin Feige is going to make the length of this movie the perfect length for this movie. And if they say 3 hours and 2 minutes is the perfect length for this movie, then that's the perfect length for this movie. And I don't hear anybody complaining about that. It's just some people are concerned. I got to figure out when I'm going to run to do a bathroom break. I'd like to check in on my babysitter or whatever the issue is. Some people, I had a couple people write in the other day who have health issues. They didn't specify what their health issues is, but one of our chatters wrote in the other day that they have health issues and, you know, being for 3 straight hours is going to be challenging, if not impossible. But even then, they weren't complaining about the run of Endgame. It's just being aware and being cognizant and pointing out that there are going to be some challenges involved with that. And there are. And you bet your ass I remember having conversations with people complaining about the runtime of Wolf of Wall Street. Absolutely. You didn't hear as much about it because not nearly as many people were looking forward to Wolf of Wall Street like they are looking forward to Endgame. But don't confuse having some concerns about it with people complaining about it because they're two different things, mister. Two different things. Anyway, Santez Henderson writes, Star Wars is in a really tough spot. I hope 9 is great. They're not in that tough of a spot. They're not in that tough a spot. There are many filmmakers who would kill to be in this tough spot that Star Wars is in. Oh no, the movie might only make $1 billion instead of $1.7 billion. Oh no, that's a good problem to have. So don't worry about Star Wars. Now look, I did talk this morning about how there has never been a trailer for Star Wars ever in the history of franchise that has been as important as this next trailer. Because we're coming off of an extremely divisive film. They need to put out a great trailer. It doesn't have to be the best one ever, whatever, but it has to be solid. Now, that won't stop the whiners from whining. No, but it will mitigate it. But if it's bad, it'll amplify it. And it's very vital that they put out a really, really strong trailer. My Thoughts Reviews writes, Hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, My Thoughts. Have you seen the movie Prince of Egypt? Yes, I did. I really like that film, as a matter of fact. Just look at your life through heaven's eyes. I don't know if Danny Glover not Danny Glover, it was Danny Glover. I know it was Danny Glover who voiced that character. I don't know that he actually sang the song, though. If he did, I was very impressed because I like that song. Anyway, have you ever seen the movie Prince of Egypt? It was one of my favorite animated movies of all time. I wouldn't put it up there for me, but I quite like Prince of Egypt. I thought it was a nice message to it. Some great songs and vocal performance. Again, I think Heaven's Eyes is a really good song. Again, not in my top 10 or anything like that, but I quite enjoy that film myself. Val Kilmer did the voice of the lead character, I believe. Awesome Spuds MC writes, would you consider Whiplash 2014 to be one of the top 10 movies of the past decade? Ooh, probably not. One of my personal favorites. What about you? I really like Whiplash. And obviously got J.K. Simmons his Academy Award. Miles Teller was stupid good in that movie. Oh my God. And Damien Chazelle, directed it. That's where he really made a first splash with his name. Went on to do La La Land and then First Man. Great movie. Do I put in my top 10 of this decade? Probably not, but that doesn't at all suggest that I didn't love this movie. I love that movie. I think it's great. Not in my personal top 10 of the last decade, but I've got no argument and no beef with you if you put in yours, because it's a fabulous, fabulous movie. I love that thing. All right. Marl Jehovah writes, the quote was from Doc Holliday in Tombstone. Crap, I can't remember what the quote was that we were talking about now. But thank you for following up, man. That was actually very considerate of you. Pat Deary writes, over under 35, we see Qui-Gon Jinn as a Force ghost in the Kenobi show. See, I don't think it's likely, but 35 is a good low number. I'll take I still don't think it's likely, but I'll take over 35. 35 is a low number. I'll go over on that one. Ram Ease Vids writes, could Hulk get a Disney Plus show? No, not as long as they're having their issues with Universal at this point. Chavez Person writes, Henry Cavill versus Chris Hemsworth street fight winner. Oh. Well, I believe Cavill played a lot of rugby. So, these are both two guys in great physical shape, obviously, but I think Cavill played some rugby. So you know what? I will completely on speculation go Henry Cavill, I guess. But I got no real answer for that. Cobra writes, bring back intermission, put adverts there instead of before a movie. Koba, brilliant. Love it. Love that idea. Love it. Stop showing stupid commercials before a movie starts and have an intermission, play your commercials there. Perfect. I love the idea, Koba. I'll be watching you for better ideas in the future. That's a great one. I love that idea. Chris Pevoto writes, did 22 years in the Navy. Oh, man, thank you for your service, dude. One reason to retire is to see movies while not at sea. Infinity War was my first in-theater film from the MCU, and I loved it, dude. What a movie to kick it off with. What a movie to have as your first on land, in theater MCU movie for Infinity War. That is a great, thank you for sharing that, Chris. That's a really cool story. I dig that. And again, dude, thank you for your service. That's 22 years in the Navy, man. Oh my God. So, man, this is how I judge time. You've been in the Navy longer than Supernatural's been on TV. That's how long Supernatural's been on TV. I start judging, that's how I judge times and differences. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. I really appreciate it, man. All right. Ben Rayner, final question of the day. From Ben writes, John, do you do too much? You're not Superman, you know. What movie did I paraphrase that from? Well, that one I know. That's from Spider-Man. That's Aunt May talking to Peter in the hospital. You do too much. That. She mentioned a couple of things. You're not Superman, you know. That was the big zig. Ooh, a Marvel movie just referenced DC. Like, that was funny. Yeah, I remember that one. So that one I remember. All right, guys. That will do it for this installment of the companion videos. We are now all caught up. Don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow on the John Campea Show. Tomorrow being Friday morning. Make sure you come back and join us for that. That will do it for us for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here and for contributing these questions, guys, on two different levels. Number one, you send in great topics for us to talk about as film fans, which is awesome. But number two, by sending in those questions, you supported the channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thank you for helping keep this channel alive. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea. Pray for me. I'm about to go see Hellboy. Oh, please don't suck as much as people are saying it sucks. Please don't suck. That'll do for now. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Please don't suck, Hellboy.